There are moments in life when words simply fail us. In those moments, music seems to understand. Chopin's Ballade number 1 is one of rare works that doesn't simply move us, it heals us. It's dramatic, intimate, heartbreaking, and yet somehow comforting. Today, I want to share why this music still speaks to us so deeply, with its story, its emotions, and the way it mirrors our own lives. Hi, I'm pianist Jiun Kim. I believe classical music is for everyone, so let's start listening together. I still remember the first time I heard it. I was a high school student in the city of Busan, South Korea. I was sitting in a concert hall. The lights dimmed, the audience grew quiet, and those opening notes began. It felt as if a whole new world began in front of me. At that time, I told myself, one day I'll play this. But then, nearly 20 years later, I finally welcomed this piece into my repertoire that I perform for concerts. Some pieces don't ask for just skills, it asks for patience and life experiences. This ballad carries it all. It has heartbreak, longing, passion, but equal amount of tenderness, hope, and burst of wild joy. This piece feels like reading a letter from Chopin himself, both full of sorrow and resilience. When I play this piece now, I hear not only Chopin's voice, but also echoes of my own life. The struggles, the waiting, and the beauty that appears unexpectedly. The word ballade comes from poetry. In Chopin's time, ballade was a narrative poem, a story told through rhythm, tension, and beauty. Chopin was the first to bring that poetic idea into instrumental music. But there are no lyrics here, but there is a story, and we all seem to understand that story without words. He wrote it in 1835 while living in Paris, young, brilliant, and far from his homeland in Poland. His letters from that time are full of longing. He once said, "Every note I write carries the echo of Poland." The very first note of this ballad opening is very mysterious. It starts What is really interesting about this opening chords for me is that harmonically speaking too, it's a borrowed chord, which is fairly far away from his home key, which is a G minor, and he builds on the A flat major chord on top of it. In the theoretical term, it is Neapolitan, but that is not as important. What is important thing is that he treated like not an accident, but he intentionally starts from far away, that uncertainty. And I think that creates a longing already from the first 4 measures that you want to go back home. Kind of wanted to G minor undertone. And what it does it is harmonically, and G minor shadows this borrowed A flat. This almost like a home and exile all at the same time, side by side. Maybe that is why we feel so human in this piece, because we sometimes we feel at home and yet not quite at peace. And I feel that there are many narratives in this piece, and often it comes back to is this to me, this is almost a a narrator telling a story for us, and as if there's another person is narrating this story. And whenever this theme of pom 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 pom, it's almost like in the heartbeat. And even though it is quiet, but we know that is something is about to happen. One of my favorite spot in here in the opening section is right here. And he's finally kind of settled into G minor, but this beautiful theme comes out of nowhere here. These moments, I do feel like something longing and pleading, and he expresses so beautifully and painfully at the same time too. And I find that the tempo changing and the kind of accelerating the tempo adds to that drama too. And absolutely, this is one of my favorite moments. But then, we goes to next part, which is the lyrical section, everyone's favorite part in this one too. After all that searching, Chopin suddenly gives us a light, this E flat major. It's one of the moments where key change feels like emotion itself. As if a window opens and we are allowed to breathe again. And it goes right here. This melody begins simple, like heart remembering how to sing. It's graceful, tender, but then it goes to, in this section, I have to say, this triplet section, an entire piece, to me is the hug. This is the part that Chopin really hugs us back and saying, all is well, I hear you. And I love this section so much. But then all of it, underneath of it, there is also pain in it too. Though he's giving us a hug back and there is a tenderness on top of it, but there is also sorrow underneath, which Chopin does this so well, which is the juxtaposition of the pain and the hope and tenderness and the sorrow all at the same time. He's the most genius at this juxtaposition of the emotions, and I think this part really shines through that. And then, of course, we have this section again. When that happens, it's almost like an indication of something significant happens again. This boom, 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 boom. It's quiet, but it's unsettling. And then this A major section happens in after that transition. What it really amazes me in this section, which is also another one of my favorite section, is that it's definitely goes to emotional climax on this part. But then what is most interesting to me is that he arrives A major, which is also far away from his home key, which is G minor. But it feels like we're supposed to be here. It feels inevitable destination, which he did really beautifully. And I feel that this theme is like a forgiveness. So it goes like. Definitely emotionally, we are very turbulent. And I feel the reason why I feel that it feels like a forgiveness, it's difficult, difficult to do. There's healing in it, but then there's a struggles underneath. And then, of course, we have this scherzo, like, again, the key that he did in joyous moments, like what was the part that, this part. But he used that key here, but to me, this is a dance. He kind of brings us to one of the most lighthearted moment. I mean, that is why I feel that this ballad carries life in it. He carries every possible emotions all at the same time. And then the same theme that goes to. And I feel that the lyrical theme becomes much more joy within it and passionate. And to me, this feels the lyrical theme transformation of something maturing. And then, of course, then the third time around, we have. That tom, 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 that happens, indicating to us once again something about to change, that transition. And then, of course, the coda, the final 3 pages of this music, is the most intense in terms of technique, emotion, and there's kind of carries, the music kind of accelerates. I mean, that is one of the reasons why this coda is difficult to holding that emotions while the underneath of music just pushing forward. And of course, you have to play the right notes and everything. So it is, it feels like a wave and you have to take along with it. And it's wild and unstoppable. This is like a music is on the edge of collapsing and without really collapsing. And that's how I feel whenever I play it. It has a sorrow, it's hope and memory, and in the return, it's when you get to. It feels like you asking and pleading once again and kind of settling into something, but now really, the music carries you. And then all of a sudden, after silence, I think this silence has the symbolism of acceptance. It's not disappearing, but somehow you kind of let out a big sigh. And then to run again. And then at the end, he embraced the life. While it's home key, which is the minor key, so darker key in G minor, but somehow there's a beauty of light too. To me, it is. It's not a tragic ending, but somehow sad, but you accept it again. You forgave. What Chopin, this piece makes it so unique and beautiful because life is fragile. And that's what makes it beautiful. And there's many moments that him being so human in this music. And probably that is why we all love this piece, Every time I return to this piece, it feels different because I am different. When I was younger, I heard it's drama, it's fireworks. But now I hear lots of quiet strength and courage through overcoming the struggles and storm. It reminds us sorrow and beauty can coexist. And I find that healing can start from that brokenness. That is why I believe this piece comforts us, because this music tells the truth. Even in the darkness, there is meaning. Through the struggle, we find grace. When I play this music, I often think of Chopin, fragile, far from home, pouring everything he had into sound and his music. Maybe he knew 2 centuries later that we're still finding that healing and comfort from his music and find that beauty from that uncertainty. Maybe that is why this music still comforts us. And I'm so thankful that this music exists for us. This is my performance of Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor. I hope you take your time with it once again. Let it sink in your heart in this very moment so that this music can give you comfort and healing that you might need right now. What amazes me the most is that this music doesn't just belong to me as a performer. It becomes yours too as a listener. My hope is that you'll find your own story in it. Perhaps it brings back a memory of hope or longing. But those moments that you found a peace and healing through those uncertain moments. I hope you enjoy the performance.